In April 2018, 4 Russian GRU agents attempted to hack the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons Wi-Fi. They carried out the operation using a car parked outside the organization's office, with a radio antenna hidden in the trunk. The agents Oleg Sotnikov, Alexei Minin, Alexei Morinets, and Yevgeny Serebryakov were all caught by the Dutch authorities, detained, and promptly kicked out of the country. It marked another bold move by Russia's cyber operatives that didn't go as planned. However, in 2022, Russia's GRU agents executed a cyber breach that was not only highly successful, it didn't require them to leave Russian soil. How did Russia's GRU hackers pull this off? And what exactly was the Kremlin's target? On the 22nd of November 2024, the American magazine Wired published an article revealing that the cybersecurity services company, Volexity, had uncovered the infamous cyber breach of a Washington-based company in 2022. Stephen Adair, a representative for Volexity, presented the investigation report at the CyberWarCon conference in the United States. While the name of the targeted company was not mentioned, the report suggested that the hackers were in search of intelligence on Ukraine. The timing of the attack was notable, as it occurred months before and after Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Adair revealed that Volexity started digging into the breach in early 2022. At first, it seemed like a typical case, however. After further observation, they discovered signs of repeated intrusions into the organization's system. The hackers had been slipping in and out of the system, leaving almost no trace behind. Volexity's analysts then traced the compromised network to an access point located in a conference room with external facing windows. Despite a thorough search of the building, no devices directly linked to the intrusion were identified. The breakthrough came when the hackers made another attempt to access the network. This time, Volexity managed to capture full logs of their traffic, and that's when everything became crystal clear. Volexity discovered that the compromised machine the hackers were using to infiltrate their customer's system was exposing its host domain. Surprisingly, that domain belonged to a completely different organization located just across the street. And with the neighbors' cooperation, Volexity dug into the second organization's network and uncovered the problem: a single laptop. The hackers had breached this device, which was connected to the local network via Ethernet. Then, they activated its Wi-Fi, effectively turning it into a radio relay that bridged straight into the target network. To pull this off, the hackers used stolen credentials they had somehow gotten online. Volexity eventually identified 2 key points of intrusion within the second network. First, the hackers had breached a VPN appliance belonging to the organization. Then, they infiltrated the organization's Wi-Fi using devices from yet another network in the same building. It was a sophisticated attack, using as many as 3 different Wi-Fi networks to hit their final target. But how could Volexity know for certain that it was Russia's GRU Fancy Bear, also known as APT-28 hackers? Well, the first giveaway is the fact that the hackers targeted staffs of the Washington company who were of Ukrainian origin. Then in April 2024, 2 years after the initial breach, Microsoft dropped a bombshell. A critical flaw in Windows Print Spooler had been exploited by Russia's AP28 hacking group. This flaw allowed the hackers to gain admin privileges on target system, and traces left on the very first computer Volexity examined during the Wi-Fi breach investigation were a perfect match for the hacking technique in question. As Volexity's Adair put it, it was an exact one-to-one match. But this is not the first time Russia has tried to infiltrate Western systems to gather intelligence on Ukraine. In 2020, Russia's AP-28 launched a cyber attack on Burisma, the second largest private energy producer in Ukraine. This attack almost tanked Ukraine's economy. In 2020, Russia's AP-28 hackers used phishing emails to steal Burisma's employees' login credentials. They created fake websites that looked exactly like the real sign-in pages of Burisma's subsidiary. Then, they spammed Burisma employees with emails that seemed legit, like they came from inside the company. The goal? To trick them into giving up their usernames and passwords. Simple, but effective. The New York Times was the first to break the story, revealing that the hacking attempts started back in early November, and the timing? Definitely not a coincidence. At that point, the headlines in the US were all about the Bidens, Ukraine, and the impeachment drama, with the House impeachment hearings in full swing. At first, no one knew exactly what the hackers were after, or how far they had gotten into Burisma's system. But considering Burisma's connection to the political chaos, Trump pressuring Ukraine to investigate Biden and his son Hunter, who sat on Burisma's board, the attack seemed familiar.
This is the start of a big week in the impeachment case against the president. The importance of it underscored by this piece of reporting tonight from the New York Times that has been subsequently matched by the Washington Post. The Russians have been hacking into the Ukrainian gas company at the center of the impeachment case, Burisma.
It was similar to Russia's playbook from 2016, where cyber attacks were used allegedly to shake up the U.S. elections. During the lead-up to the 2016 election, the U.S. Democratic National Committee, DNC, became a prime target of phishing attacks. One of the phishing emails was sent to John Podesta, the chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign. The email, disguised as a security alert, urged Podesta to change his password. Charles Delavan, an aide, quickly flagged the email as suspicious and forwarded it to a computer technician. But here's where it all went wrong. Delavan made a critical typo. Instead of labeling the email as a phishing attempt, he accidentally wrote, "This is a legitimate email," and even added, "John needs to change his password immediately." That tiny mistake opened the door for one of the most infamous hacks in political history. The Kremlin gained the keys to John Podesta's private Gmail account, giving it access to around 60,000 emails. After the DNC realized they'd been hacked, they brought in CrowdStrike, a top-tier cybersecurity firm, to figure out what had happened. And it didn't take long for CrowdStrike to connect the dots. The breach was traced straight back to Russia. They identified two infamous hacker groups behind the attack, Cozy Bear and Fancy Bear. According to US intelligence officials, Moscow didn't keep this treasure for themselves. They passed it to WikiLeaks, and by October, the emails were out in the open, sparking a massive scandal.
The latest emails released by WikiLeaks suggest that top officials at the Democratic National Committee plan to undermine Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. The Sanders campaign had long accused the DNC of tipping the scales in favor of Hillary Clinton.
The leaks filled the headlines and became the prime ammunition for Trump during the final stretch of the 2016 election. The Kremlin may have gotten away with cyber frauds that limit Ukraine's support in the West. However, Zelensky has found a way to beat Putin at his own game. So check out this deep dive where I'll show you how Zelensky is ready to make a proposal Trump can't refuse.